Hello, lovely people. It is so funny because as soon as my live stream started, the music cut off, and so everything around me just got super quiet. Anyways, I'm here at the Black Bear Diner in Mount Shasta City, and I am happy to be here with you. If you have any conspiracy topics or anything like that that you may want to chat about, I would love to get into those things, although I'm not sure how long I'm going to stay on today. But first, I wanted to open up this letter that I got. I don't know. I don't want people seeing where I live. Letter that I got from the Essene Church. As many of you know, this past week, like last week, I was up there and actually got to stuff these envelopes. So I already kind of know what's in store. But I didn't read. Da, 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 da. This is like my first holiday card this year. Probably one of the only ones I'll get, but maybe I'll start a little mailing list of. That'd be really kind of fun to do. And you will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth. Wishing you a very blessed Christmas. Love, Essene Church. And this was actually the demo one that day was showing how to sign them. And so I got that. Anyways. Inside, I just wanted to read this because it is about the Nazarean year, and I saved it to read it with you. I'm working on some of the graphics for my own presentation of this for you, but this says the Nazarean New Year and winter solstice according to the Nazarean calendar in the Holy Megillah. The Nazarean year consists of 13 moons or months of 28 days each. It is not a mere coincidence that month sounds like moons. And the word month is from mona, which is the Anglo-Saxon word for moon. Webster's new 20th century unabridged dictionary begins its definition of the word moon as follows. The heavenly body that revolves around the earth once about every days. 28. Hopefully my connection is stable because it says I'm lost on this end, but everything else shows that I'm okay. So hopefully I'm good. A Nazarean year of 13 months times 28 days equals 364 days. But a solar year is 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds. This being the time it takes, well, we have to do some flat smacking around here, but the time it takes the Earth to make one complete revolution around the sun, because the solar system has an extra 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds. All calendars that have ever been produced by the various peoples of our planet have all had to have some way of accounting for that extra time. To account for the difference between the 364-day lunar calendar and the 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 48 seconds of the solar year, the Nazarean calendar posits a time out of time. The Nazarean New Year always begins on the winter solstice. That would be the first day of the first of 13 months of 28 days each. When those 13 consecutive months of 28 days ends after 364 days, whatever amount of time is left in the solar year prior to the occurrence of the winter solstice, about 1 day or a day and a half, is the Nazarean time out of time. And you can kind of see that little sliver in there that goes down the middle. That is realistically the beginning and the end of the year, right? Tying it all together. The original date of the Christmas celebration was the winter solstice. This celebration existed before the birth of Christ Yeshua, celebrated not only by pagans, but by virtually all ancient peoples as the new birth of the sun or new birth of the light. Why? because it was believed more or less accurately that the winter solstice was the shortest day of the year in terms of sunlight, and that each subsequent day would have more light up until the climax of the summer solstice, at which time the days would again begin to grow darker earlier. This belief was more or less accurate for the following reasons. Modern science has revealed that the exact shortest day fluctuates from year to year and is not always on the same day that we name the solstice, though the solstice is a good approximation and often exactly right. In fact, if one were to pick a day to celebrate this ritual of welcoming back the light, one could not pick a better date than the winter solstice. Then we're actually given a little assignment here, and there is what we do in the time out of time. Nobody can prove exactly what day Christ Yeshua was born, but his birth is significant enough that we should honor it each year with a celebration. Because his birth is a symbolic of the great light being born again, no better date can be assigned to celebrate his birth than the winter solstice. Thus, in harmony with the Christmas season that our culture celebrates, we can and should join Christians around the world in celebrating the birth of Christ Yeshua. We do this as the culmination of our time out of time, since that time culminates, ends, as it merges into the first day of the Nasarean year, which is the winter solstice. Remember to keep it holy, holy day. Cool. We're gonna, like I said, dive a little bit more into that, where I can actually zoom in and show you the different months, and we can talk about the Nazarene communions and how each of the different days of the week, well, we already kind of know because they're with the peace contemplations, right? The body day, mind day, family day, heritage day, humanity day. Did I say that already? Humanity day, heritage day, Mother Earth day, Sabbath, whatever. But those are actually the days of the Nazarene week. So there's a lot to unpack, and it's actually coming up in the next few chapters of the Nazarene book of Genesis. So cool. Yay. Christmas card. If you are interested in sending me something, P.O. Box, well, in honest no, P.O. Box 125, Weed, California, 96095. 9594. Okay, cool. Hello, David D. David D says, whoa, live. Absolutely. Shout out to you and to everybody that is silently watching. David D says, cool that you got the one signed by Day. Exactly. That was pretty cool. A nice payment for doing that in a way. But I actually got I should have left it in my bag here, Day's new Joy yoga book as a gift for doing that as well. So I'm very excited about that, and just getting to serve in general. I don't serve wanting anything in return. I am happy and excited to do these things, especially like something that is secretarial, signing, stuffing envelopes, all that kind of stuff. And I pretty much licked the majority of those envelopes as well. So yeah. David D says, every day after the winter solstice will get longer and longer with more daylight. Yeah, that's really cool how he described it in that letter. And if you're interested, you can reach out to the Mother Temple, and they send out Omna Bible lessons and also the Essene Path, which is a quarterly piece that can be a little bit thick of articles and just deep dives into different topics, which is really cool. There is a fee associated with that, but I'm not really sure off the top of my head. It might be like $29 or something. And the Omna goes out to church members. So if you're interested in that, you can totally reach out to the Mother Temple. And yeah, I'm excited because I'm going to be going up there to Florence in the next few days. What day is it today? Today is Wednesday. On Friday morning, I plan to head up there. And I mean, this is literally the time out of time. So like Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the day that church is. And I thought in one of these letters that Day actually mentioned that that the date might be the 20th. I need to reach out to him and confirm if the New Year day is actually on the 20th or the 21st. But I'm excited to have some kind of intentional time of celebration and communion with Jaja Elohim. And yeah, all this kind of stuff is going to be talked about when we get into the calendar. The time out of time is also part of, a representation of the blessed day of play. And that is, the special dispensation for Jade and Jonah and all their Christed brethren and sisters to come, by which they may enjoy divine play in heaven most high with Jaja. And during this time, if you go to the Nazarene book of Genesis, chapter 16, this verse 107 says, "Behold, at the time between the end of the 13th month and the beginning of winter solstice shall be called time out of time, and will symbolize the blessed day of play. Lo, this shall be a time for enhanced communion with Elohim and Jaja. Yea, all times are suitable for such communion, but at this time communion may be deeper. For Elohim and Jaja will grant special dispensation to all who call on them and serve them. Yea, the Holy Spirit will come unto the faithful, and they will feel the presence of God and Goddess, immanent and transcendent. Indeed, the faithful always feel the holy presence. Even so, due to this special dispensation, the faithful are provided the opportunity to dive deeper into that presence. For Jaja will increase the flow of supernal light from heaven most high into the mother ovum via the seventh branch, which is the Nahara. To accept this gift, two things are needful. One, the faithful must devote a goodly portion of the time out of time to devotional practices. Yea, let the faithful chant and sing and pray and meditate alone or with other Nasareans. Two, the faithful must devote a goodly portion of the time out of time to good works. Yea, visit the aged, give gifts from your heart, play with children, and respond to the various needs around you. Yea, for this is the way of communion with heaven most high." That is so cool. Oh, oops. So cool to me. And so hopefully you find that cool as well. But I guess my whole point was that I am trying to intentionally be part of that this year and really indulge in the blessed day of play, whether that is reading more, doing more communions, like it says, praying and chanting. I might have a special live stream while I am in Florence, maybe, especially since this kind of confirmed it with "Let the faithful chant and sing and pray and meditate alone or with other Nazareans." I love that. And if I can get some other people to join in, maybe we will have something special for that. But also reach out to the Mother Temple at the contact, the contact paper page, and ask if you can be emailed the Zoom link for the church service, which is going to be taking place on the 21st, because I get to read not one passage, but two. I'm super excited. And this is going to be a little two-part service that talks about Christmas, but it also is going to go into the Nasarean calendar and the different communions. And I'm going to get to read an important part in that as well. So I'm super excited and would love for you to be able to get that Zoom link. I know that Dave likes to kind of keep track of who is watching to some extent, to have a list of working people to send information out with and just kind of gauge engagement. So anyways, David D says, so when exactly is the Nazarene New Year? Yes, that is the golden question that I will reach out today after this email and ask to clarify that, because I'm pretty sure that I got another email that said it was the 20th. But yeah, it seems like your short reels are gaining a lot more traction recently. They are, yeah. It would be really cool to have realistically just a team of people that would just do those things and chop my videos up into reels, but I'm just sitting over here like, grinding and putting them out, but that's fine. But anyways, yes, they are taking off. It's been really cool to see just lots of engagement really quickly, and my Queen and on a Snow Facebook page starting to get more interaction. A lot of people against it, but that is to be expected because we are living in a world that is full of darkness and false beliefs, and those beliefs sometimes go very, very deeply, especially when it comes to religion or spiritual beliefs. And even, I mean, heck, what we eat. So often we take those beliefs, and I mean, me myself, I'm pretty extreme when I cling on to a belief, or I mean even these scriptures, I'm just like all in with that. And definitely different than like political beliefs and stuff like that, but we all have our the ways that we cling on to different beliefs and the challenges that come with trying to shake off all of that old skin, so to speak, and let our true divinity, I don't want to say like shine in, but anyways, yeah. I was gonna try to rhyme, but that went downhill too fast. David D says, what do you say to people who say there is no letter J or sound in the Hebrew alphabet? Yeah, a lot of people have tried to argue with me, even with the Megillah, about that. And when I started my awakening experience, going through with the sacred names and saying the same thing, Jesus wasn't his name, J didn't exist, all of these same things that essentially are kind of being used against the Megillah to some extent, because they're saying that J doesn't exist and all this. There's a nice little footnote in the back here. I just want to get Day's actual quote so that we're doing good. Thanks. And there's quite a few little footnotes in the back that are very helpful. But while there is not, sorry, these pages are so crinkly. I actually have a perfect mint condition copy of the Megillah at home that I could be using, but it's hard to bring myself to pull it out because it's like pristine condition, and I would like to keep it that way. Okay. This is expanded footnote 4 in the back of the Holy Megillah. There's a little bit of back and forth, but the use of the J sound in Nazarean Hebrew is limited to certain names of deity. The known examples being Jah, Jala, Jade, and Jana. This practice is related to transcendental vibration, wherein the J is said to be the true sound of the transcendental names of the 4 members of the first family. The Nazareans place a tiny circle with a point in its center above the letter that would normally be pronounced as a Y anytime they wanted to indicate that it should be pronounced as our J sound. That's so cool for like a lot of reasons, but just even it being the circle within the point and how it describes creation is described as them kind of like, in this ovum, and they sim some down to a point. And so it's just really cool. I mean, look at our pupils and so much of creation that just reflects this beauty. So yeah, anyways, while known history and Hebrew language does not have it, the Nazarenes did use the letter J and specified it differently from the Y. And yeah, I had another thought that I was going to say, but I lost it. So cool. Must not have been relevant. Hey Dave, how's it going? So cool. Look forward to the time out of time, right? It's going to be really cool, especially to like for me to be in Florence, like near the Mother Temple, and to be able to help. There's already some service projects. They're little, like helping with computer setup and some technological things. But yeah, getting to help and serve, and also getting to give gifts. I'm excited to share with you in the future the gifts that I have for the church and various members. So that'll be sometime after Christmas that or not after Christmas, but at least after this weekend that I share this with you. David says that you are becoming a regular part of the Nasarean church services. I am, and I'm really excited about that and different ways that I can help behind the scenes, whether it's with the computer aspect and like it's a Zoom meeting thing. So it's literally all on the computer and camera and different things behind the scenes and being able to help with that, being able to read in church, being able to spread the message. Super excited. Hello, Mystic Masonry. It's Mike Pence's fly. Cool. Mike Pence's fly says, what's with the pentagram? Let's see if I can remember all of the stars. David D says the upright pentagram is the sign of the Nazarene who does the will of God. The inverted pentagram is the sign of the inverter, one who does the will of Satan. Yeah, so when Yeshua and Miriam, and I mean, by logical reasoning, the rest of the Nazarene children, on the first day of butterfly school, they would be taught the first fruits, the lesson in kindness, right? Because wisdom without kindness is essentially going to lead to hell and cause a whole bunch of problems. So they made sure that on day one, they would teach children kindness, and I want to embrace that. And so anyways, Yeshua and Miriam were both given a pentagram pendant, and the verse says that this is the star that stands above the bright ones of humanity, and it represents 5 points. One is be kind to all creatures as you wish kindness done unto you. Number 2 is forgive yourself the trespass that is bound with being human. The third one is wish for the best for all beings. 4 is wed your kind hopes with daily acts of kindness. And 5 at the top here is that to be kind, one thing is needed above all things, and that's to be kind. You actually want to be kind. So it's really cute. It's a little bit of a paraphrasing there. And the points each have like a little bit of explanation to it. Like, for instance, forgiving yourself the trespass of being human. It goes into how even the vegetarian farmer, disrupts the soil and might occasionally kill a worm or something like that. And so naturally, there's going to be problems that we cause. And being forgiving to ourselves is really important for a lot of reasons, but also so that we can be forgiving towards others and more compassionate and kind. The whole Nasarean religion is literally to lift others up and focusing on the cancellation of debts or karmic consequences because of forgiveness. So if you do something wrong to me, then I forgive you the punishment or the karmic consequence for your action. Every action has a consequence, whether it's good or bad. Your consequence will be lessened. It will not be as great as if you did not get forgiveness. So it's really a beautiful thing. And I think that if everyone learned kindness, that our world would be a lot better place. And that's a thank you, Captain Obvious moment. But it's also to remind me to live like this and embrace these teachings as well. I kind of just picture all these little Nazarene kids with their pentagram and necklaces running around and just being so awesome. The stories that we hear about Christ and Miriam and their childhood and how full of light they were. Granted, they were part of the Immaculate Conception and 7 generations deep and literally Lord and Lady Christ. But you can imagine how amazing and gifted and connected those kids, their peers were. I mean, they even recognized then in there's a story where Yeshua's friends literally gather him and put him on a throne and basically say, "You're our king." And he's like, "Shh, don't tell anybody. I haven't revealed myself, so don't go around telling everybody." But yeah, you're right. Uh, so really, really cool. David, he says there's so much pushback against the Megillah from mainstream Bible bashers. None of the biblical stories match, but it is their version that is deception. You're right. It's an interesting. Well, let's talk about the stories that don't match. The stories definitely are different. Same characters often, and maybe the characters are understood as different positions. For instance, Abraham and Sarah being and Isaac being of the temple of the sun and being these, already had graduated beings that chose to come to earth. And in that situation, it was really cool too, because the false Yahweh came up to Abraham and said, sacrifice your child to me. And Abraham immediately saw right through it. It was like, no God would ever require this. Like, anyone that is requiring that is a demon. And it's so, for me, coming from a mainstream Christian background, that's the kind of patriarch that I would rather be following than one who. But it's really interesting because back in the day, I would have been like appreciating his obedience to some extent and trying to fight my own maternal instincts to sacrifice for the spiritual purpose, right? If I really believed that God was wanting that. So yeah, it's kind of funny that how much your perspective can change just with that, right? Like, now I'd be fighting tooth and nail and I would be saying the same thing. Like, no God would ever require human or animal sacrifice, and get thee behind me, Satan. So as far as the pushback from the mainstream Bible bashers, definitely a hey Josh, how's it going? Definitely a fighting battle. I was just reading a little bit earlier in chapter 74 of the Holy Megillah here, when Christ and Miriam are getting ready to send off their disciples into into Yisrael and Yisrael, both, right? There's the inner mission to the people that are already in the path, and then there's everybody else, which is the two different groups. There's Yisrael, which is the nation of, well, we're going to read about that in a second too. Yisrael, which is the Nasarean nation, and then there's Yisrael, which is, again, everybody else besides them, basically. As far as the people that are arguing against it, in chapter 74 of the good book, the Holy Godspell, the Holy Megillah, translated by Day of Greenleaf, available at Essene.org. Having concluded her readings from Nazarene Genesis on the different forms of salvation linked to different relationships with the Lord and Lady, Miriam continued speaking to this gathering of the Nazarene companions of the Lord and Lady and the former Aaronites trained by John, the two circles that would serve in the outreach mission of the Lord and Lady to Israel. Miriam said to this assembly on the cliffs above En Gedi, "Behold, we are not ignorant of the false beliefs that are common to this stage of the development of humankind. We understand that those false beliefs include the patriarchal beliefs that uphold the domination of men by women. We are not ignorant of the truth that such deeply ingrained cultural beliefs die slowly, not quickly. Wherefore, we will provide that some limited measure of truth be given unto those not ready to fully receive us. And that limited measure is whatever portion of our way each can receive now, with the prayer that it prepares each to receive us fully when we come again at the end of the last days, or whenever that soul is ripened enough to receive our full gospel. But we do not, and you should not share the Megillah with those unready to receive it. For if you speak pearls of wisdom to those of violent pig consciousness, why be surprised when they act like violent pigs and trample you? Speak not of the Lord and Lady to those with unripe ears, and share not the Holy Megillah with those that desire to argue and debate about our religion or the authority of our Nazarene scriptures. I've definitely blocked a lot of people because I'm like, I'm not arguing with you. If you're not ready for it, goodbye. Bless them, smile compassionately, and move on to one with ears ripe enough to hear. So basically, you're supposed to just go and spread the seed and then try to see who is ready for it. And when these fools that try to come and debate you and argue and all this stuff, it's like, God and Goddess bless you, and just move on. So definitely easier said than done, especially when it's like wanting to share with people the truth of our reality, especially when that truth is literally what the world needs to change the world. So David says we live in a just world, so everything good or bad that happens to us is deserved. For us to be tortured in hell can only happen if we deserve this hell world. We create the world we are in. Definitely true. Yep, every thought, word, and deed will either lift us up the golden ladder or pull us down. It'll either take us up into higher heavens or it'll pull us down into lower hell realms. And we are definitely in a hell realm right now, whether it's by our creation, which is standard, or by the fact that we chose to come as the hands and feet of Lord and Lady Christ to, come and spread the light and try to uplift our brothers and sisters, try to restore Earth's garden paradise. David says, in order to effectively resist Satan, we must understand that what they offer, money, fame, power, Satan offers a form of physical immortality in enslaved light. But we are already immortal souls. Yeah, what popped into my mind was the story of Christ and his 49-day fast and the three tempters of Lucifer, and essentially what they are offering him, these different things, trying to appeal to him, his ego, and all these. It's just very fascinating to see how they work, exactly like what you're saying. As far as the enslaved light goes, I wanted to talk a little bit today about Neuralink, but the little clip that I got was not is only one part of what I wanted. So I'm gonna have to put on a longer video in the future of that, maybe next week. But I got some clips from Elon Musk and some updates about what they're doing. It's really interesting, this concept of enslaved light and these beings being able to essentially have a soul trapped in a machine, right? And well, I guess kind of the only way to get that soul out of the machine is to stop the machine from functioning anymore, release that soul, which is kind of cool because I mean we are about nonviolence, but I'm not really sure where that comes in with robots. Like I think that it would be okay to kick some robot butt, right? Oh. The default path we are on is toward. Sorry, I started reading someone else's comment. Unless toward the hell realm, unless we can change path through teaching the Megillah, we will eventually become hunted and killed by artificial transhumans. Definitely. There's even a little clip of Elon Musk basically saying that they have nightmares about AI. And obviously, Elon Musk and all these, like Bill Gates, Trump, Biden, Clinton, whatever that other, all these people that I thankfully can't even really name, are all just puppets that are set up for us to like either love or hate, so that that energy isn't actually directed at the real dark souls in charge. They don't want you cursing them. So they're like, hey, Bill Gates, then they lure Bill Gates' soul into playing this, the character of Bill Gates, and give them whatever Bill wants. And I don't know whatever. Obviously, I don't think that they just anything at all ever that you want, but I think that Satan definitely makes it very enticing for them and will cater to personal desires of these souls so that they will take that stand, right? And play that role and take the take that energy, take the beating from all these humans that hate them. John says, so that's what the new TV series Pluribus is all about. It's really like what you're talking about. I actually started downloading that, but did not start watching it yet. So you're kind of giving me a little nudge toward that. And yeah, cool. Hello, Life Beyond Zachary. Life Beyond Zachary says, who are the real Jews? Who are the ones currently known as the Jews, really? In other topics, Mount Shasta is the root chakra red. Why is the lore of this area so often associated with the violet flame? Interesting. Well, let's do the violet flame first thing, and then I would love to actually read this story from the book of Moses that some people will recognize the characters Jacob and this idea of him wrestling with God. But in it, we hear the origins of the name Jew, and we see it literally being taken and used by other people who were not Jews. So let us see. Okay, so anyways, about the Mount Shasta thing, as far as the root chakra goes, I personally believe that it's the root and the crown. And so it's kind of interesting that you brought up the violet flame, because I was recently thinking about this masculine and feminine energies and them being, melded together, and essentially that being this violet flame. So yeah, it's kind of cool to think about the root chakra and its connection to Cush, the Garden of Eden, and also heaven. So yeah, really cool. Okay, so as far as the real Jews go, we are going to read from the book of Moses. This is chapter 1. Many generations. Chapter 1 called Jacob and the Angels. Many generations had passed since the time of Noah and the banishment of Lucifer from this world. With the passing of each generation, the influence of Noah became weaker, and the world again sank into deep darkness. Though Lucifer was banned from embodiment in this world, he had spared much of his seed, and both he and his master, Satan, had many willing servants in this world. Humankind had spread over the face of the world, dividing into a multitude of tribes and nations. The stronger nations made war on the weaker, enslaving the people, always in the name of their God. For lo, Lucifer wears many masks, and is the tribal god of many nations. The Nasarean nation was in dispersion, but with but a scattered remnant surviving. Most of that remnant was in Cush. Also in Cush were the children of the Canaanites, who called themselves Yahwists after the false Yahweh. For behold, the Canaanites never called themselves Canaanites, but always called themselves Yahwists. And it was the Nazareans that called them Canaanites. For lo, the Nazareans refused to dishonor the name of the true Yahweh by calling Lucifer's minions Yahwists. In Cush, both the Canaanites of Yisrael and the Nazareans of Yesreel had one thing in common. Both were under the heel of the army of Egypt. For behold, Egypt was the strongest nation in the world, and being neighbor to Cush, pillaged Cush and took many slaves. It was also in Cush that both the Canaanites and the Nazareans came to be called Jews. And the story of how that happened is called Jacob and the Angel. That story now follows. Behold, since the fall of Atalia, the Canaanites had been ruled by a succession of high priests of the line of Leviathan. And the Canaanite army enforced the edicts of the high priests. But now a general who did not wish to be subordinate to the high priest ruled the Canaanite army. For behold, the high priest, enraged that the armies of Egypt repeatedly defeated his armies, beheaded many generals, and berated the soldiers. And the army believed that their losses to the Egyptians had at first been due to unwise orders from the high priest, and now to being badly outnumbered. And so there was great animosity between the Canaanite army and the Canaanite priesthood. Now, at this time, the name of the Canaanite general was Jacob, and the name of the Canaanite high priest was Amalek ben Leviathan. And Amalek desired to kill the general, but that would be more difficult than with past generals. For behold, Jacob was greatly admired by his soldiers. Yea, if the soldiers were to discover that Amalek killed Jacob, they might turn on Amalek. So Amalek made a plan. One night he sent 7 of his priests to the tent where Jacob slept. They hit him over the head with a club, knocking him unconscious. Then they bound him with a rope and carried him far into the wilderness. There they would kill him, and the loyal soldiers of Jacob would not know who killed their general. But lo, before they killed Jacob, something unexpected occurred. The 7 Canaanite priests had carried Jacob into the wilderness, and there they met Amalek at the appointed spot. For Amalek desired to watch the killing of Jacob and to gloat. So they staked Jacob to the ground, spread eagle, then kicked him until he awoke. When Jacob saw that he was to be slain by Amalek, he was angered and shouted, "Do this, and my men will turn on you." But Amalek gloated and mocked, saying, "Your soldiers will never know what happened." As Amalek raised a dagger to stab the defenseless general, behold, a man in a white robe intervened. Yea, a man jumped from behind a tree with one swing of his staff, knocked the dagger from the hand of Amalek. The name of this intruder was Ariel, ben Judah, and he was a Nazarene lion of Zion. Amalek, recognizing the robe and staff of a Nazarene priest, shrieked, "Kill him!" While Amalek cowered behind them, the 7 priests that served him drew their swords. One of them also carried a spear. Yea, that one threw his spear at the Nazarene, but Ariel moved like the wind and dodged the spear. Behold, for the assignment of capturing and killing the Canaanite general, Amalek had selected not just any priests, but trained assassins. These 7 priests were trained killers. Lo, the 7 stalked their prey, circling Ariel. Then, swords held high, they attacked. The moment later, all 7 lay upon the ground, 3 with broken arms. Again and again they attacked. Again and again they were knocked to the ground. Behold, Ariel ben Judah moved with the quickness of a cat and possessed the strength of a lion, for he was the foremost living master of Nasarean Zion. When it became apparent that his 7 priests would be soundly defeated, Amalek ran into the night. He knew that Jacob would come for him and that he would bring many soldiers. He knew that the army would side with their general and that he, Amalek, would be killed. And so, upon arrival at the Canaanite temple, he gathered his priests and told them, "The general has made an alliance with the Nazarean priesthood. and the army will stand with him and turn on us. We must flee this land and build a new temple elsewhere. There we will raise our own army. Yea, we must separate ourselves from the corrupt ones who preserve our religion. Oh, and preserve. That's why it didn't make sense. We must separate ourselves from the corrupt ones and preserve our religion. For lo, already this general has forbid cannibalism, and he has spoken against human sacrifice. We can tolerate no more corruption of the religion given us by our ancestors. But we cannot now stand against his army. Wherefore we will separate ourselves from the apostates and preserve our religion. Who will go with me? The priests who did not raise their hands were killed. Then, along with a few dozen soldiers that Amalek knew supported him, the priests fled. Yea, they fled to another land and built a new temple, and they raised their own army. And from there on, they were called the Amalekites. After Ariel defeated the 7 Canaanite priests, they fled. For he did not kill them, and though he broke their arms, he purposefully did not break their legs. For behold, he wanted them to flee. After they fled, Ariel untied Jacob. Though Jacob was conscious, he was badly injured. The many kicks of the priests had broken several of Jacob's ribs, and his head wound was severe. Wherefore Ariel placed his hands above the head of Jacob and began to chant and pray. Behold, by this time the sun had risen, and while Ariel chanted, Jacob saw angels descending from the sun to the crown of Ariel's head, then again ascending. Yea, it was like there was a golden ladder between the head of Ariel and the sun, with angels descending and ascending. Jacob thought, this man must be an angel. Yea, for no mortal man can fight like that. And behold, the angels of the sun visit him. Ariel placed his hands on Jacob's wound and prayed, and Jacob felt healing virtue enter his wounds. And Jacob felt calm and at peace. Then Jacob closed his eyes and fell asleep. Yea, he slept all day. And that evening, when he woke, Jacob spoke to Ariel. Yea, he questioned Ariel all night. For lo, it is not every day that one can debate with an angel. Behold, Ariel patiently answered the many questions of Jacob. First, he explained that he was not an angel, but a man. He said, I am a Nazarean of Shevet Ariot, which is the tribe of lions. Jacob said, never have I seen a man fight like you. You defeated 7 armed men, yet you were armed only with a wooden staff. You dodged their blows, moving like the wind. You could have killed them, but you spared them. You did not fight like a man, but like an angel. Ariel replied, this kind of fighting is called Zayin, and it is from our ancestor Yehuda. Wherefore we lions are also called Yehudites, or Jews. Then Ariel told Jacob many stories about Judah, how he founded Zion and fought bravely, many times defeating large forces. Lo, Jacob, a lifelong soldier, was fascinated by the stories of Judah, saying, I will name my son Judah, and my army will praise his name. Behold, Ariel told Jacob of the Essene Way of the Nazareans, but Jacob argued against many of the tenets. Yea, all night they debated religion. Jacob said, some of your ideas are good, but some are foolish. For behold, God is a man, not a man and woman. And though I agree that cannibalism and human sacrifice are wrong, I see no fault with the sacrifice of animals. And I believe that God gave us animals for food. Ariel answered such protests with great wisdom, but Jacob held to his opinions. Even so, over the course of the night, many of Jacob's views were greatly altered by the words of Ariel. And at the end of the night, with the coming of dawn, Jacob promised, I will order my people not to harm the Nazareans. Yea, and I will cast the priesthood of Amalek from our midst and replace it. I will see that our scrolls are changed to fit my new understandings. Even so, many of the Nazarene tenets I find objectionable and will not adopt. But henceforth, may our people live in peace. Jacob returned to his people and rallied his army. Seeing that those loyal to Amalek had fled, he gave not chase, saying, It is enough that we are rid of them. A few of the priests, those loyal to Jacob, had remained, for they had feigned loyalty to Amalek and then hid when he and his followers fled the wrath of Jacob. Jacob counseled with them, saying, Last night I wrestled with an angel, and behold, I was shown a great vision. Then he instructed them to alter certain things in the scrolls and to add certain things. And though the new scriptures were still not similar to the Nazarean scrolls, they were much improved. Yea, many of the words of the false Yahweh were removed, replaced with better words. Even so, some of the words of the false Yahweh remained. Then Jacob assembled all of his people and told them, From this day we will be called Yehudites, or Jews. And because I have wrestled with an angel of Elohim, our nation shall be called Yisrael. And indeed, from that day on, the people of Jacob were called Yehudites, or Jews, even as the Nazarene lions were also called. And the nations of Yisrael and Yesrl lived side by side in peace. But though they warred not against one another, the Egyptian army decimated both. Yea, the Egyptians often attacked the region of Cush, killing them of Yisrael and Yesrl, and taking slaves. Over time, the Egyptians destroyed both nations, with but a few survivors scattered through the hills. But lo, many thousand of Yisrael survived in Egypt as slaves. Yea, and a few hundred of Yesrl also survived in Egypt as slaves. And the Egyptians did not differentiate between them, calling them of both nations Jews, or Yehudites. And as both Yisrael and Yesrl were in slavery together, so too were they liberated together. And the story of that liberation is the story of Moses. Cool. I love that story. So cool. Different retelling of that story, right? Not retelling. These are the original stories, and the ones that we're told of in the mainstream are not the original. So much of it is changed, but it's really cool how, he was literally told by this Nazarene lion, like, dude, first of all, I'm just the human, and I'm just a Nazarene lion, and I'm going to pull this back up. Literally introduced Judah to him and told him about all these stories, and then he went and took that story, and well, who knows actually how much of those real stories he even shared, because he probably had an ego on him, but we can only speculate about that because he's a warrior. He might not want to come back, cheering the war stories of another hero, but maybe. David says, more and more we will see truth in plain sight. Eventually, trapping human souls and consciousness in machine is Satan's end. Oh, definitely the third body of Satan, right? That enslaved light, where they're literally putting our souls into machines. And I'm going to get into that in the future and more of the science that is related to it as more of that is revealed to me. But it's really interesting to think about what kind of technology could literally be used, what type of frequency torture device almost, right? That they can literally trap a soul into. David says all 7 of these trained assassin priests attacked and got knocked to the ground. The Nazarean lion literally broke their bones, right? They messed with the wrong person that day for sure. And makes you want to just go and get outside and get your Zayin on, right? A lot of the Zayin starts with meditation and being centered and understanding your place in the cosmos and actually being connected to God and Goddess, as opposed to going out and, practicing certain different moves. Because realistically, Zayin is more about an intuitive dance, essentially, that you're being guided to do certain moves, spontaneous moves, to get out of a situation, to save someone, whatever you need um, to get out of it. So it'll be really interesting to see how Zion comes back into even more relevance when, well, I shouldn't say when, because it's kind of speaking it into existence as if it has to happen. If we continue down this non-blessed path and we're over there on Mount Shasta in the wilderness, being hunted down by these artificials, people are going to need to get their Zion moves on. John, I'm not really sure what you are saying. A bit like what net then you do. I'm not sure what you mean by that. David says that perfected light is souls in heaven above a 777. Enslaved light is souls trapped in the machine. 666. Satan's seraphim slaves. Exactly. Yeah, and definitely not somewhere that we want to be. And like you mentioned before, we already have that immortal life. Immortality of the soul is already yours. So when the devil comes along and whispers about immortality, say no thank you. In the future, I'd like to maybe grab some little excerpts and stuff from people that essentially promote transhumanism and different like philosophers that are associated with those groups, talking about longevity and life extension. I'm not fundamentally against extending our lives. There's natural ways that we can go about doing those things, and then there's unnatural ways to go about doing those things. And once we start getting into the unnatural ways of doing things, then we need to start wondering if it is, if this is kosher. Well, I don't know if that's the right word. If this is good or not, right? Yes, it's a trigger word. I should make sure I know what I'm saying. David says Satan offers immortality, but we are already immortal souls, and all he offers is slavery, exactly, and getting stuck in a machine that, I mean, frankly, this is hell. So those souls that have already committed to that lifestyle, now we're speculating again, obviously, but thinking of them and how they might feel about being trapped in that situation as well. And then the different forms of escapism that become more enticing to them to try to forget about that situation. Just a whole bunch of interesting things to think about and try to understand, to try to deepen our own perspective and understanding of reality, and even with our human brothers and sisters, trying to understand them and be more loving and compassionate and caring and kind. Definitely easier said than done. But all we can do really is try to become the best versions of ourselves possible and try to be a good example to the world, spreading light and kindness where we can, and just try to heal ourselves. So I think I am going to jump off of here and order some French fries because I haven't eaten today, and my stomach. Thankfully, the noise cancellation on my microphone is on because you guys would have heard my stomach growling so loud over here. All right, tomorrow I will be with you at noon for the noontime peace contemplation and the next reading from the next chapter in the book of Genesis, the Nazarene book of Genesis. Hopefully, you are enjoying it. It's going to be, the way that it is set up is so, I mean, it makes logical sense, but it's so funny because we basically get to this really exciting stuff of like Adam and Eve and their story and all this stuff and Abdiel, and then it's like, hold on one second, let's take a detour over here and basically tell you what's been going on with Abdiel, which includes him being raised and being fully grown now, climbing that, that tree of life that's in the center of us and that's within and without. And what we're going to get into is literally the instructions for the Nasarean priesthood, which were given to him in Eden. I think that's so cool because it's not, it was literally established at the beginning. It's not like these stories that come along later where, like, essentially, usually Moses is credited with the Torah. And, like, that's much later, obviously, than the Garden of Eden. Like, to have these precepts of illumination, these ways of existing for the Nazarene priesthood, having them been written in the Garden of Eden, I think is just so, so cool. So anyways, we're going to get to that tomorrow. We're going to have to be very patient and get through the rules and regulations of the Nazarene priesthood before we get back to the story of Adam and Eve. But it will definitely be worth it because it's so much good information. I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, whatever this is. May God and the God's blessing.